What's up, party people? This is Tarkus Jude Mossberg here from Facebook, Jude's Junk, Facebook comic book shop and page, and then I have a YouTube channel and website. And someone asked today about what are the values of these custom labels, or does it increase the value of a book? And I thought it was an interesting question, so I wanted to share with you my experience on it. You know, pretty much starting from the beginning, when do you actually first see the opportunity to use a label? And that's when you place your order. So when you type in the book name, you will be given the labels that will work with that book. You aren't going to be given all the labels necessarily. Could be wrong on that. No, that's right. You won't be given the DC, Batman, Superman labels if you're putting in a Marvel book. And if you're putting in non-Marvel or non-DC, you're not going to get any of the DC or Marvel labels. So the book that you enter will dictate whether or not what label options you're given. I sent in a 1974 John Romita 9.9 to get relabeled. It was a John Romita Captain America cover, but it was put out by Aurora, some kind of a modeling kit, and the comic was in the modeling kit. And because it wasn't considered Marvel, the Marvel labels didn't come up. So I had to request a special label. Now when you call in, they'll say you can just write it on the packing slip that you want a specific label. Yeah, but that's easy for someone to ignore, and now it's not in your file and you can't prove that you wrote it on there. So I'd say send in an email and have them add it to the file, and that way if they mess up, you can have it get sent back for free with the correct label put on it. I'm trying to think, you know, the DC books are going to pull up the DC labels, Marvel books are going to pull up the Marvel labels. You know, there's a Todd McFarlane book I just sent in, and I wanted the Todd scroll on it, but CGC was not aware that Todd had worked on that book, so they didn't have the custom label option pop up. So I had to do it manually to get it added. Used to be $5, then $8, now it's $10. Tell me if I'm wrong. Is it $10 or $8? For some reason, I thought I saw it go up twice. There was a special last November where they were reducing the custom labels down to $5. And as far as I know, once they go away, they don't come back, but I think there's been some exceptions to that. It's all licensing agreements. I used to work for a store where we'd put NFL logos and NBA logos on golf shirts, and you pay for that ability to do it. So they have to pay for those labels, and if a label isn't popular enough to generate revenue to pay for the license, then they'll cancel that label. That's how it works. It's all finances. They don't just get to use it willy-nilly. There's, you know, probably a 1-year lease on it, or maybe a 2-year lease, who knows. I dig them. I like them. I've had 2 situations recently where I could have sold a guy a book, and he only wanted a book with a specific label on it. He wanted Incredible Hulk 340 with the old Incredible Hulk 340 custom label. Sure, the cost back then was $5, but that doesn't mean someone will be only willing to pay $5 more. He was willing to pay probably $100 more, because those old and it was a 9.8, those old 340s with those old 340 labels with the actual 340 cover, it's pretty cool. And it's probably rarer, and if someone wants it, the heart wants what the heart wants. You know, we're paying $1,000 for comic books. I just sent in a $7,000 check for comic books. So if people want to pay $200 for a label, they will. Someone just reached out, and well, I should say, I'm not a big fan of the new Todd scrolls for 2025. I did like the scroll from 2022, but I did not like the Todd McFarlane scroll from 2025. It looked weak and plain, and I don't know, it looked like he phoned it in, but I think it's the exact cover, exact scroll that was on some of the books. And the first one he did in 22 was a little bit more fancy. So I just had someone online, and they were like, they wanted a Spider-Man 13 with the old scroll custom label. So if you're collecting a set, you want all of them to have the same label, potentially, so you can display them. And if a lot of people in the comic book industry say they're OCD, hence the difference between a 9.6 and a 9.8. That all comes from being OCD. I want that little bit, and I'm willing to pay $15,000 more. It just is what it is. So sure, the cost a couple years ago was $5. That doesn't matter. Someone was willing to pay $200 more for an Incredible Hulk 340 with that label. And you might say that's silly. Okay, well, a lot of people saying slabs is silly. A lot of people saying paying $3,000 for comic book is silly. So, you know, this is the age of collectibles. This is the age of Pokemon selling for $5,000 and old sports cards. What's that guy on Instagram that's been talking about how collectibles are just blowing up as an industry worldwide, especially this American culture, pop culture, very collectible overseas. If you got a lot of money, that's why a lot of websites that specifically sell internationally, you'll see some of the higher prices, because a lot of international buyers that are buying this stuff and never importing it, so there's no customs. They're just storing it at the store. Well, I think that's what Golden does, and why you might see some crazy high prices on Golden. I don't think eBay does. I think Heritage does. Some of the other sites do as well. So is it worth anything? Not intrinsically. There's no price guide that says, hey, this is what these books have sold more for. It's just like CGC used to not differentiate between newsstand and direct, and you still can't break down their census into newsstand and direct. So GPA has that sales data, but when people start seeing these little differences, then and they start paying more for it, you know, eventually the price guides catch up if it's easy to track. But what kind of custom label? I can't even track on the census. I'm looking at a Todd McFarlane book that's a sketch with a signature, not just a signature, and you can't differentiate on the signature series which one's a sketch, which one's a signature. It's just yellow, and they tell you how many artists, but they don't tell you which one's a sketch and which one's a signature. GPA will break that out. I don't know about the other two if they'll break it out, but GPA will break out and say, hey, this is a signed and remarked by so and so. I don't know if they differentiate between remark and sketch, but so I like the custom labels. At the time of ordering, I always get one unless it totally messes up the order. I'll send in 10 books, and if like for example, Todd, a number of his books, I wanted the black Spider-Man outfit at the top to match the black outfit on the cover. And a number of them, I wanted the red outfit at the top to match the red outfit on the cover. So I had to split those into two different orders. So I sent everything that was going to have a red label, and I have to do the math, you know, and you have to figure out shipping, because increments of books, shipping starts to go up dramatically. So you learn, I think it's 3 or 4 books, it's $35, maybe $40. Maybe they add $5 per book. I haven't really been able to figure it out yet, but I know 2 books is like $35. 3 books might be 40, I don't know. And so you have to manage your order based on these labels. So it does get more complicated. I remember my presser was saying, do you really want this label on here? Because if you do, it's going to cost you not $10 for the label, but $40 extra in shipping, because it's going to be a separate shipping, $35. So $35 plus the $10 for the label is $45. So in some of these books, if you really want that label, you are paying separate shipping, which is equivalent plus the label cost of $45 extra. A lot of people don't talk about that. They say the label's only worth $5. Well, now the labels are worth $10, and the obsolete ones, you know, is there a value on those? For buyers, there is. So I like the custom labels when I can do it. Sometimes the cost to do the couple, in my mind, outweighed the benefit. Maybe the label looks really perfect with it, like the Secret Wars 8 label on the Secret Wars 8, or the X-Men 1 label on the X-Men 1 books. Those are very specific, especially if it's the exact picture on the top and the bottom. Sorry, I cut my hair this morning and itchy all over. So I dig them. I've never heard anybody say they don't want a custom label. I've never heard someone say, I only want a plain yellow label, I don't want a custom label. I've never heard anyone say that. But I have heard people say, I'm looking for this book. I just saw it this week. I'm looking for this exact book in this exact label. A buddy of mine a client of mine financed a large book, and he wanted a very specific custom label, and I just happened to have it. And he was doing financing and finally paid it off, sent in his final payment, and I just mailed off his book to him. So I dig them. There's other issues with creating the order, that can split it up. So if you're sending something into Eastman, remember those magazine size is a totally different order than regular comic size. You can't put them on the same order. So, you say you want to send in 10 books, but then, okay, 2 of them are magazine, one of them's pre-75, one of them's after 1975, and then, you got 8 that are regular size comic books, and 2 pre-75, and 8 after 75, and 2 of them are over 3,000. All of a sudden you have 10 individual orders, right? You got to be careful of that, because 10 orders times $30 shipping per order, that's $300. So the smart person will save up. All my magazines with this label will get saved up for this, and all my pre-75s I'm going to save up and put together over here, and all my post-75s that are worth over 400 are going to get sent in together over here. And if you don't send in a lot of books, then you're just going to be paying for shipping. I guess that's one of the reasons and benefits of sending in with a LCS. If they do that, is you might get the cheaper rate on shipping, but then you have to pay for the shipping back to them. And if they ship it to you, that's 2 shippings, or if you go pick it up from the store. But as I said before, you lose all visibility, and there's a way for a comic shop to take advantage of you if you do it through them. For example, if they send in 3 Spider-Man 1s to a Todd signing, 2 come back 9.8, 1 comes back 9.6, how do you know that 9.6 they gave you was really your book or someone else's? That's one thing you lose when you go through an LCS. You can trust them, and that's great, and they can actually give you the paperwork and show you the order number. I don't know how you get in and confirm it. My presser gave me his username and password, so I could get in and see that exact order and see those grades before it got to them. So if they give you the username and password, then that's helpful. But I digress. Anyways, I dig custom labels. I know a lot of people think they're silly, but I think as more and more are becoming obsolete, you're going to find that people are paying 100, 200, maybe even 300 more. You're talking a Silver Age book, with a special Thor logo that's obsolete now, that's in mint condition, a 9.8. Everything goes up exponentially with grade. So the value of a custom label on a 2.5 versus a 9.6 would be totally different. The value of a signature on a 2.5 versus a 9.6, totally different. So everything multiplies as the grade goes up. So if you have a 9.8 that you're looking for with a special label that's obsolete, it'll probably be worth more at some point. Again, that's a very specialized buyer, so you might have to be patient. But anyways, happy hunting, guys.